Hello students, in this video let me talk to you about Chief Seattle, who is the author of this speech. Of course, we are talking about Chief Seattle's speech. Okay, and first let me give you a brief description of Chief Seattle. Chief Seattle, who earned his reputation at a young age as a leader and a warrior. He was a valiant warrior and was born around 1780. Okay, near Blake Island, Washington. So he was born in Washington. Okay, he was known widely for ambushing and defeating groups. So this is one of the techniques that the Red Indians always used in their fights. They hide themselves and they charge upon the rivals, okay, upon the raiders. Okay, so he was already known for ambushing. Ambushing means hiding and fighting and defeating groups of tribal enemy raiders coming upon the Green River from the Cascade foothills. So this is the place where they actually had their area, and attaching the Shimakum and the Kalam, or it's called Skalam as they said, tribes living on the Olympic Peninsula. So they are the inhabitants of these places. Like many of his contemporaries, he owned slaves captured during his raids. He was tall and broad, from a Puget Sound native, like the Pug Sound native, like what do you call, sort of a Idaho looking person. Okay, standing nearly 6 feet tall, Hudson Bay's company traders gave him the nickname Le Gros, the big guy. He was also known as an orator. He had good oratory skill. His voice was loud and bold, but he gradually lost some of his ground to the more powerful Patkanim of the Snohomish when the white settlers started showing up in force around 1850. When his people were driven from their traditional climbing grounds means the place where they operated, climbing grounds, Seattle happened to meet Doc Maynard in Olympia. Both developed friendly relationship with each other, persuading the settlers at the white settlement of Duams to rename their town Seattle, and that's how the name of the place Seattle came into being. Dr. Maynard lent their support to Chief Seattle and his people, and that's how what we can say about the origin of Chief Seattle. So this is the origin of the Chief Seattle, and now let me tell you about the story. It is a speech delivered by Chief Seattle in 1854 at Washington. It contains arguments in favor of the ecological responsibility and respect of Native Americans' land rights. Okay, land rights which was actually taken up by George Washington. Okay, he hopes that their good father in Washington would protect them, and his brave warriors would prove to be a great wall of strength. So warriors means the big Hulk. Red Indians are going to be their protection. They are going to fight like anything and bravely protect their native land. Chief Seattle, who belonged to the Squamish tribe, he delivered his speech at Washington in 1854. Okay, in this speech he persuaded the path of accommodation to white settlers in the U.S. state of Washington. His speech contained arguments in favor of ecological responsibilities and respect of Native American land rights. He recollects the hostilities that existed between the white and the tribal people, the red children, as he's saying. He thinks that his old tribal people will never like to resume the old hostilities. He hopes that their good father in Washington would protect them. He realizes that the white man and the red children are two distinct races. There is little common in them. In his speech, he makes a reference to the propositions which he had received from the white man. He hopes that his people will react favorably to the propositions and accept it. But he puts a conditions before they take a decision. He wants his people to have freedom to visit the tombs of their ancestors, friends and children at any time. Definitely that is the place where their ancestral right comes from. They are worshipping their ancestors. So that's what he is talking about. Okay, he opines that the deserted streets at night will be thronged with the returning hosts that once filled them and still love this beautiful land. So this is what he is saying at the end, like if they're not allowed to worship the ghosts of the natives, I mean the forefathers of the Red Indians, they're going to attack. And thus, that's going to be an end of the white people.